Welcome back. Thanks for staying tuned on the afternoon drive. And of course, you can't help but stay locked on to I-95, the most influential name in radio. I told you I'm going to have my say. My inability to be here on Monday, or my fact that I wasn't here on Monday or Tuesday, was not of my doing. I guess the one PNM team felt it more appropriate, like the UNC did, to bring their advertisements and Broadway broadcasts on this afternoon drive in my time slot. The UNC did it to shut me up. I don't know why they did it. You be the judge. I guess they could have gone on the morning with Daily Knock and Tony Lee. But you know what? They probably chose the best drive time in the world, I-95, the afternoon drive. So thanks for that recognition of the afternoon drive and its impact and potency. But I'm here today, God spare my life. Thank you. And I will have my say. I am going to interview Ferdie Ferieria at 5:45 so that he will have his views expressed. But I want to say this. First, I've been on radio. On this station, this month, June, is 20 years that I've been here. Previously, thanks to my colleague Harvey Boris, who brought me on radio at 102. And then when he went to take up other responsibilities, I was joined by my business partner and friend, Wendell Stevens. I was brought here on the morning drive with Dale and Tony because of my PNM perspective, being a sitting council at the time. And I declared that, and I've been that. However, country first before party for me, so that I have come to be known and had paid a price for even challenging Patrick Manning and disagreeing with his government and his members of parliament at times. I paid a price for that. And criticizing and disagreeing with Dr. Rowley and his cabinet, and I paid a price for that. But I have supported the PNM nonetheless, because I want always what is best for Trinidad and Tobago. I say that to say that yes, I've been a change maker, but I've never aligned myself with any group of individuals and hid behind a name or a brand. I have declared what I am, and I've spoken my mind. And many times I have stood alone, but that I have survived. So branding me a member of the change makers, you have a problem because you've missed the boat. I'm not a member of that group of people who have come together to raise their voices and express their views. But you have missed the boat, because all that it did for me is to show that there are other people who have chosen to come together under that umbrella who may have similar views to mine. So you not only have me to deal with and others like me, but you have that group of people who remain anonymous. Harvey Boris, always somebody on his own, never afraid, without any sobriquet, except that he loves his country, and he says that without, behind any group. He showed his hand very early. Ashton Ford, former General Secretary, Member of Parliament for Arima, Mayor of Arima, he doesn't hide behind any sobriquets. He has spoken his mind and views. So for labeling us as change makers, you're halfway right. We are, in our own individual capacity, change makers, but we are not members or a member of any group of people who call themselves and brand themselves as change makers. So you all have missed the boat in that regard. And I make no apologies for the positions that I've taken, but you all can go ahead fooling yourselves about me being a change maker or part of any group. There's another group that you all have branded UNC, what? The UNC Cabal or some other name. And you all have gone after them as well, calling them all kind of names, apparently. Well, you didn't feel that way when they were supporting the PNM against the UNC. They have raised their voices for the PNM in support of the PNM. And more importantly, on issues that they felt should be treated with as a group in terms of the PNM, support of the PNM. So if now they are raising their voices and expressing their views as it relates to an internal PNM business, what you have done by castigating them is that you have alienated some of them because they have a different view to you all. Add that to the 102,000 people who didn't vote for the PNM in the last general election. When you marginalize people, you create additional problems for yourself. And if the title of the group is One PNM, does it suggest, and this is just a question, that everybody else who, the teams and the different individuals who are challenging the team and individuals and the individuals who may have a different view, is it that they are not included in the One PNM and therefore only the people who you support, who support you, known to you, be part of that One PNM? The name by choice, the name that you all created for yourselves, is a significant message that you are sending. And you're sending it based on the behavior that we are seeing. I found it unfortunate, the comments made by a new member of parliament, young man who has so much promise, Darien Marcelle, making on the platform about those who may be opposed to the group that he is associated with and part of the team. Very unfortunate. And I pray and I hope that it's all part of the learning curve for him and that he will remedy that approach and behavior. And of course, there's another character who is also making a lot of derogatory remarks about people and groups who may not be this year's support for them. Now, I want to tell our listeners that I have been in the PNM since 1978. I've said that many times. And I'm saying that to say I've witnessed many losses, 1986, 1996, 2001 or 2, and now. I've witnessed that. I've been part of that. I've been part of the PNM rebuilding. I've been part of many internal elections, even one that I participated in. And probably what I've experienced, the most brutal one was the one in 96 when Dr. Roddy challenged Mr. Manning. But I have never witnessed this kind of derogatory comments about members of the PNM. They're not UNC members, no. Members of the PNM who choose to have a different view to you all. Now, the challenge I'm having is that if the behavior and the utterances that are being made now, and you all have not yet been elected, I should change that end. However, when the election results are announced and you all retain office, it seems that democracy will not be as we know it in the PNM. So if there are any dissenting voices, people will continue to be isolated, marginalized, and made to feel not a member of this PNM party. Be that as it may, I can only pray and hope for the best. But I'm not fazed by your behaviors and your utterances. Not fazed. I want what is best for Trinidad and Tobago. And my membership in the PNM has always been one of my contributions to Trinidad and Tobago. I chose the PNM because I think it was then and remains now the best political party on the landscape of Trinidad and Tobago. This, what we're experiencing, while it does not reflect that, I still have hope. I believe in the founding fathers and what they did, what they built, and I have confidence that we will rectify this one way or the other. I want to read something that I was sent by a PNM person whom I know, and I would not call their names. Let me read it, because it expressed a lot of my confidence, a lot of my views on this matter. I am loath to comment on the PNM Internal Elections, as I will probably end up supporting whomever is elected to run the affairs of the party going forward. What I will not support is the snaky, snide, and ungrateful comments coming from some of our combatants. You all knew the character of Dr. Rowley from 91. So to attack his style is at best maddening and worse, ungrateful. He embraced and promoted most of you all. I say all. Promote a new leader. Sing her praise. Accept her leadership style. Accept her leadership style. But do not castigate a man and an institution that you all benefited from. I will have none of it. Dr. Rowley, in his own style, governed this country through extreme difficult times. He made errors, yes, especially in some of his appointments, I agree, including at local government. But he ruled with an iron fist that this country needed. Clearly, the returning PM has taken example. But he ruled with an iron fist that this country needed. Clearly, the returning PM has taken example. I wish the Honorable Penelope Beckles the best. I wish whomever is elected the best. But there's a party and a country to save. Let go and let God. One life, live it. I want to tell you this. One of the most difficult times I faced is 1996, when there was this challenge between Mr. Manning and Dr. Rowley. But you know what I did not hear? At any time, and I was around when Mr. Chambers took over. Matter of fact, my first public speech was in 1986 on platforms with the Mr. Chambers. I was so honored. That was my first public speeches, and I spoke on many platforms in Diego Martinez, and when he came to Diego Martinez and in other places with him. He never castigated Eric Williams. When Patrick Manning came in, I was a big supporter of Patrick Manning. And I never heard him publicly or anybody of his era chastise Mr. Chambers. I was very present with Dr. Rowley as leader of the opposition. And in spite of the challenges he had, the personal challenges he and Mr. Manning had, I want to point out two things. One, when there were motions of no confidence in Patrick Manning as Prime Minister, he was the one and only person who stood in defense of Mr. Manning in the Parliament, and he did an excellent job. On every occasion, he was the main person. And I never heard him castigate, denigrate Mr. Manning or anybody of that era when he took over. He never did it. So when I hear former members of the Parliament, of the Cabinet, members of Parliament now, and the people who are vying for office in the PNM, speak derogatory of Mr. Manning, of Mr. Dr. Rowley and Stewart in their public meetings, I cringe. You know what is sad? I have a video, and I'll share it with you all one day, where these same people were congratulating Dr. Rowley. They were high in praise for Dr. Rowley. They spoke of how much he did for them on his resignation as prime minister. I have the videos. And now they are listen, this for me is sad. They are now publicly in their meetings castigating Dr. Rowley for the public to hear. This is sad. Very, very sad. And for me, it speaks volumes about their character and how they see people. So what I am thinking is they're not going to stop there. So not only castigating them in the public and on social media, but it means that if they believe, if they hold office, and I believe they will, if they hold office, then anybody they perceive to have supported Dr. Rowley and or Stuart Young, they're in trouble. So where's the one PNM? And we see it already in this election. It's sad. Very unfortunate. So when you win, or should I say, when the outcome of the election is in your favor, as I anticipate it will. A matter of fact, let me say this, folks. I believe the outcome of the election is already determined. It is already determined. And I, Darien Marcelle, is not going to participate in a process where I don't have confidence in the process and the outcome. And if I was, and I want to tell you, I took that position very early because of what I was seeing taking place on the landscape. And it kept bothering me. But you see, this morning when I read the papers, and Mr. Michael Seals determined that he has to protect his integrity and his name, and he has resigned from the advisory committee, saying that he's not prepared to continue because he's not part of the decision making. That's what I understand to be as vice chairman of the advisory committee. What he did not say spoke loudly to me, because he doesn't prepare to go into details. And I guess that's been honorable. But more honorable is when he has tendered his resignation, because he don't want, when the outcome happens and his name is called, that he's associated with that. And I will end here for now, because I promised you to have Mr. Ferdie Ferieria views on this, and we have him on the line. Ferdie, good afternoon and welcome.
Good afternoon. Good afternoon, Darien.
Ferdie, I wanted to speak with you at this critical time in the life and the history of the PNM, because you are the only founding member of the party that I know and who continue to be active and outspoken on party matters and political matters. I want to start by asking you, what are your thoughts as we go on the election campaign of the internal elections of the PNM, as we are just about 3 days away from that event? What are your thoughts?
Let me put it this way, Darien. I've been following the campaign. I mean, I'm a member of the PNM. And I continue to be a loyal and devoted member of the party. I'm a bit disappointed about the line that has been taken by what they call them, the one PNM team. Over the years, first of all, let me say there are a lot of misinformation out there that I feel as a party 70 years old can be avoided if persons aspiring to office, party members, just inform themselves or acquaint themselves with the history of the party. Thereafter, I'm hearing this about slates. Since as a foundation member of the party, I can say with every degree of authority, Eric Williams never had a slate. Chambers never had a slate. Slate, as far as I recall, came in during the Manning period, more so in the 1996 election.
Yes, you're very correct. This comment was made as attributed to Senator Amy Brown,
yes,
as a member of the one PNM slate.
Yes.
I read it and I found that to be very misleading.
Well, you see, this research has made the point that I'm disappointed in that the information is there. There are about 9 books written about Dr. Williams and the PNM, beginning with the Wilton Rogers, Amrish Josaran, Dr. Ken Boodoo, Winston Mahabir in an outer project, Professor Palmer. There is the In What Hunger. There is the other one with a lot of Dr. Williams. So the information.
And then there's Ferdie Ferieria, who could pick up the phone and call.
And is always available to
Correct.
all of them. All. From the leader back down. I've always made myself available free of charge to provide the information as recorded. So when I hear persons aspiring to the highest office making these statements, I feel a bit disappointed. 2, as if in some of the statements, as you correctly said earlier on, I have been, as you know, one of the most consistent critics of Dr. Keith Rowley. Even long before there was this problem with Dr. Stuart Young, I went on record of being critical of some of the positions and sometimes what I consider the inappropriate way. Well, let us not forget Dr. Rowley entered politics in 1981, giving up a professional career to enter the political arena. Like all others, he has made mistakes. But Dr. Rowley has made, whether you like him or you don't like him, a considerable and solid contribution towards development of this country. We seem sometimes to forget in our tendency sometimes to be adversarial and be critical. We ignore history as an elementary student of history. As I said before, it is no secret of my criticism of Dr. But let us not forget that it was Dr. Rowley in 2010, when he became leader of the opposition, that brought the PNM team back together, won 2 elections, wrote off a debt of $4.1 million. Balize House was about to be taken over by the bank. It was Dr. Rowley who successfully negotiated the energy revenues that has increased our revenues, as just said by call members in the parliament, in excess of 18 billion. It was the PNM led by Dr. Rowley that renegotiated with the powers, and when I say the powers, these energy stars of the world, they increased royalty and revenue to the country. It was Dr. Rowley that recovered that $1 billion that was used to complete the highway to Point Fountain. So everything about Dr. Rowley.
If I may, Ferdie, it was Dr. Rowley who led Little Trinidad and Tobago through the first, well, this global influenza called COVID,
Oh, certainly. I mean, it was
and to the point where the World Health Organization and other institutions globally
recognized the
recognize
performance
him,
of
and Trinidad and Tobago, his leadership.
and congratulated the government.
Correct.
In addition to that, the very parliament that is sitting now for years
Yes.
was unoccupied. It was Dr. Rowley and Judicott that reconstructed that parliament that they are now occupying. So sometimes in our tendency to be, we lost the election. I personally held Dr. Rowley responsible, but he alone was not responsible. There are others in there who, had they performed or had they responded responsibly to their duties, we might have lost, but we might not have lost by the margins we lost. So though I am not prepared to put the full responsibility. As a matter of fact, Darien, in 1986, when we lost 33-3, the worst defeat in the country, the Women's League, when Chambers tendered his resignation, I don't know if you remember that.
Yes, I do.
They called on him to reconsider, and he said
Yes.
it is irrevocable.
Yes.
And the Women's League had a celebratory function for him. We in the PNM, I have it. We cannot be that ungrateful. I will continue if it's and when it is possible to criticize Dr. Rowley. But we can't some of the remarks being used there by senior members of the party. At this time, I don't think it's helping the party. And I said it before, I repeat it. The party is bigger than any individual. Dr. Rowley has gone. By whatever process, however you feel about the process he used to go, that now is gone. We have a responsibility to honor him for what he did. History is about negatives and about positive. And as Professor Ryan said about Dr. Williams, he was not perfect, but he left the country in a better position than he met. And I can say, I'm sitting here listening to Colin Imbert, who I have also criticized, but who continues to be one of our most exemplary parliamentarians. And he is making several references by the international financial institution, the
Correct.
IMF, the World Bank,
Yeah.
Standard and Poor, etc., about the state of the economy, which completely contradicts
Yes, you're correct.
some of the views expressed that they run the economy into the ground and so we have a responsibility. And even at this advanced age, I hold myself available to assist the younger members of the party.
Ferdie, because of time, and we run out of time, I want to ask you something. I don't want this to pass. This morning, we in Trinidad and Tobago and the PNM saw a letter published by Mr. Michael Seals that he has resigned from the advisory committee. And what are your thoughts on that letter? Have you read it?
Well, from what I read, it was sort of coded. And the impression I got is that there was something in there that he was not satisfied with. And in order, as he codedly expressed, to protect him, he resigned. So obviously, I don't know the facts. I don't know the answer, which he did not state. But I can tell you that somebody like Michael Seals, former senior police officer, respected police officer.
He was also president of the Social and Welfare Committee.
That ought to be a source of concern to the leadership of the party. And, and there should be some response. It is a source of concern when somebody at that level publicly expresses the opinion of Michael Seals.
as
particularly, I recall the 1996 election, and it is important before I come to things. The Glenda Morin report of the 1996 election.
yeah.
Get a copy of that and read it.
Before you go on, or before we close, there are a number of letters that have been written to the General Secretary raising concerns about the elections of the General Council, and Chinwalin wrote. There were letters written by ordinary members like Shea Barkley. There were letters written of concerns by Farai Hove Masaisai, raising concerns about the election process. But none of those letters to the General Secretary, but none of those letters have been responded to thus far.
I make no apology. Generals have a responsibility. If somebody, particularly the status of Mr. Chinwa, Mayor of Port of Spain, or one of the senior members of the party, written to you, expressing concern about a procedure, your responsibility is to respond to that. You know, I heard something at a meeting Saturday night. The General Secretary said that his former campaign manager and chairman deserted him and jumped, joined the UNC. And I suppose nobody, up to now, I've heard nobody ask him why. I don't know why. But he said it. He said my campaign manager and former chairman jumped ship and went to the UNC.
But to the best of my knowledge, he wasn't the chairman of the constituency when he went across. He was removed.
He was a former chairman.
Yeah.
But he said he jumped ship, and I would have expected somebody in the party, you tell us. I don't know. I certainly would like to know why somebody at that level, campaign manager, I was a former campaign manager, I'm a former chairman of a constituency. And if I jump ship, I would say why I jump ship. Well, he has a responsibility to the party to tell them why the man jumped ship. If it's just a betrayal, an act of credibility, and so on. But my major concern is the leadership has a responsibility, particularly the new political leader, to change the course. It is about unification. It's about restructuring the party, bringing all hands on deck. And the way they are proceeding, to me, is creating more enmity than unity.
Ferdie, we are at 6 o'clock, and I want to thank you for your time. I appreciate it as usual, and I assure you we will be speaking going forward for a much longer period after this internal election.
Darien, you know, I'm always available, and I will tell it as I see it. I don't always have to be right.
Correct. Thank you very much, Ferdie. Appreciate it. That was Mr. Ferdie Ferieria, founding member of the People's National Movement, expressing his views and concerns as we lead up to the internal elections of the People's National Movement. I want to say this, because I was not here on Monday and Tuesday, and I had a lot to say, I'm happy for the opportunity today. And while I'm sitting here, a thought came to my mind. Should I come on radio tomorrow afternoon? My bosses might want to consider if I ask, since I was out for 2 days. They have a holiday tomorrow, and if there's no scheduled events on radio, I may consider it. Just consider it. I just thought I'd share that with you. Thanks. Thank you very much for your listening, for your messages. And well, we didn't have any calls because of the circumstances today. But thank you all very much. I want to ask you all to have a very good long weekend. Please be safe. Please be vigilant for whatever you are doing over this long weekend. Please be safe and be vigilant, and do have a great long weekend.